What is the function of an educator? Not the educated, not the student, not the child, but what is the function of an educated teacher?
To avail myself to the student in such a way that the student can learn.
Which means the educator must establish a relationship with the student,
Yes.
which is not hierarchical, authoritarian, you up there and me below, but a relationship of mutual inquiry, study, sharing, communication, all that's implied in the educator, isn't it? He said that he must establish a relationship. A relationship in which the authoritarian spirit completely goes. Otherwise, you treat me like a servant. Our relationship is entirely different. Based on you know, I don't know. This degree of knowledge. And you are imparting some information to me. Is that all? Or much more involved in it? That the teacher is not only establishing a real relationship, wanting to communicate his information, and also he wants, doesn't he, to bring about a quality of intelligence in the student, which is not merely the intelligence of the activity of knowledge, is much more. So the educator has to be intelligent, in the deep sense of that word, not knowledgeable, and also wants to establish a relationship of real friendship, real affection, real love between himself and the student.
Yes, I think that's very, very essential, especially that.
Yeah.
Especially that.
Especially that. When there is that quality of love, affection, a relationship, no sense of authority, awakening or cultivating or bringing about that intelligence in the student, then the responsibility of the teacher is enormous.
Yes, it is, because the student is open.
After all, we are creating a new generation, which means the teacher cannot belong to the establishment. Establishment in the sense, the orthodox, the social acceptance, he must be vitally different in himself from the rest of the world.
He must be himself.
Himself. I'm not himself. That brings in a difference.
Yes, no, I know what you mean. But he must be authentic.
He must be authentic and integrity. I mean, it's not just say one thing, do it, so that when in the presence of the teacher, the student feels completely secure. Because with the teacher, he's at home. Not with the family, because the family is too, they have their own problems, their own ambitions, their own greed, you know, they're fighting it. With the student, with the teacher, feels, now at last here is somebody who really cares. And when you establish that kind of relationship with a student, I want to learn from you. I want you to tell me. I'm awfully eager to find out what you know. And then also, you don't compare me with another student. If you compare me with another student, you're destroying the other student. Because I'm probably dull, and you compare me to somebody who is cleverer. There is this conflict in comparison, competition, all that is bred in me. But if you say, look, I'm teaching you, don't bother, I'm not comparing you with anybody, you are. So this sense of extraordinary feeling of intimacy, flow, friendship, without any sense of you must be this or that. Then my mind wants to learn.
I think a good deal of the objection that students make to grades, those who don't like to receive grades, is based largely upon this notion of a personal comparison between themselves and another. Now, there are other objections to grades that seem to me really without any foundation, but there is a psychological point here. That if the grade is used as a sledgehammer, then of course it becomes altogether dysfunctional and destructive. Still, I would not go so far as to say that grades as such are useless, since if the teacher relates to them adequately, he is telling something to the student about the student's own performance with respect to a given task.
Yeah, I understand that. But you as a teacher had 5 students or 10 students in the real sense.
Yes.
You would help one of those 10 to love the thing he's doing, whatever it is, gardening or whatever it is.
Yes.
And there is no grade in that. The more I learn, the more I love. I don't say, well, you must have a grade in your mind about me. You watch me. You say, well, that's not quite right, this is right, let's talk it over. You follow, there is that relationship in which all sense of making me conform to your ideal disappears. Therefore, there is a relationship of real affection, and that is enough. It's like a sunshine and a flower.
Isn't it the case that a person could indeed love flowers, love his garden, love gardening as an appreciator, but might not be gifted as a grower?
No, then I study. Then I'll find out.
But
you may not have the green thumb, and you say, well, I'll find out.
He turns around and he says, after he's planted this flower, well, how am I doing? and he means to ask you whether he has done well or ill in the way he has planted the flower.
Therefore, the way you tell him how he has done, that is important, not whether better grades or this or that. The way you convey to me that I've done, this isn't quite right, or this is quite right, that is done marvelously. Your very look is sufficient. All religions are based on this comparison. Eventually reach the foot of God or sit next to God. They're all the priestly hierarchical methods. The bishop, the priest, the bishop, the archbishop, the cardinal. This whole hierarchical sense is a competitive sense. And religion, business, family, the whole structure is based on that. And you bring up a child to fit into that. Whereas if you say, look, you're my child, I'm going to look after you. I'm going to see that you are the most marvelous human being on earth. Totally. Not just technologically, but psychologically, spiritually, and you produce quite a different entity.
Well, we have generated a rather curious notion. It does seem to me altogether a dysfunctional one.
Yes.
And I'd be very grateful for your light on this. I've never taught in grade school or high school, so I'm only talking about what I've heard and read. But we did begin some time ago, if I'm not mistaken, a tendency to level the performance of students,
of course.
so that if a student is gifted, bright, and devoted to his task, he's naturally going to excel. But we must be careful somehow or other that we don't really encourage him too much in that, for fear that the disparity in comparison will...
But after all, if I'm the educator, I want him to excel.
Of course, exactly.
Not excel and get benefit or exploit others. After all, if you excel in something, it's marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
But if you use that excellency in order to crush me,
it's disastrous.
That's what's taking place.
Yes.
Why does, in the modern world, children are so violent,
Yes.
so disorganized, so, you know what they are, you see them all over the world. Why? Is it the society in which they live? Parents who have really no affection for them, though they so, you follow, they say,
yes,
we love our children, but a society, a group of parents who allow their children to be killed in a war. You follow, sir?
Yes, I'm following.
Though they say we love our children, they shed tears when they get killed in Vietnam. But it is this sense, I feel, that of utter lack of love for the children. Because they are concerned about themselves, their look, their hair, their dresses, you follow their nails, God, you look at the commercials and you see how tremendous self-concern.
Mm-hmm. In terms of what we said earlier, then, we'd say that they don't see the child.
No, they don't. They don't want to see the child. Because if they see the child, if they see what is going to happen to the child, they would be horrified. So they cover it up and send him off to school, or, you know, get rid of him. And the home is no longer a real home. And therefore they become delinquents, naughty, and all the rest of it. But they don't care. They care for their security, for their pleasure. You follow the whole
Yes, I do.
ugliness of self-concern. And therefore you turn out people who don't care for anybody. And you have this perpetual war.